Good afternoon, Chef Marcel Reimer. I welcome you to this ninth edition of the International Conference, IBEEE, from the Department of Hospitality Management and Catering Technology. So the session is over to you, Chef, for a session on the emerging trends in food and beverage.
Thank you very much, Ranganath, for the introduction, and I'm glad and happy to be invited again to this event. This is also always a great opportunity, and I like to help out. So dear students, welcome, and thank you for participating in this event, Emerging Trends in the Food and Beverage Industry for 2022 probably, and the coming year. So to just give you a quick outlook of what I will talk about in this short presentation is I will share with you some trends which I see coming, but also I will share, based on my own personal experience, certain things which I believe will play a very important, if not even a tremendous role, if you want to become successful in the future in the hospitality industry, in the food and beverage industry, considering the now different and changed circumstances which we are facing now, which many of us are living through. And we all know that the hospitality industry, the food and beverage industry is suffering greatly because of the current situation. But let's start with some food trends, or some trends I see or we actually have seen already. So trend number one is definitely the takeaway food, takeout groceries, which we have experienced already since last year. So there is a tremendous increase in takeaway and takeout food. This will continue, I believe. This habit will stick with people, and more companies which did not have online presence before, now they learned very quickly to adapt to this, and they need to adapt to this because consumer behavior changes, of course. And there were companies who were wiped out basically also because they did not learn the lesson that fast. Yeah. And the second one is definitely, and I think that's the biggest one, it's people they will become more health conscious if they are not already now, but this is an ongoing trend. So yeah, the health consciousness. So, and that's a good thing that people consider to eat more healthy in general. That's a good thing, that's a trend, and let's see how this is going to continue. We have too much fast food around. The fast food chains are still strong and big, but let's see how this trend. I believe it's a strong trend, and I hope it's going to develop further, and more people will adopt this. The third trend, which I definitely see coming or is already in place, has started already, is the cost consciousness. Yeah, there are many people who lost their jobs, and all of us somehow, most of us have financial restrictions because of the situation, this global situation. And by nature, you have to budget a little bit better. You have to budget more. And so this comes automatically that the cost control factor plays into that. And let's see how supplier or businesses base their offers on that. You know, but people become more stingy, become more picky, and they become more cost control. So that's going to be interesting to see how future business react to that or respond to that. And another big trend definitely is homegrown foods or homemade foods. This is a trend which also has already started naturally, because I can speak from my own experience. I have worked in Southeast Asia for many years, and I have many colleagues who lost their jobs, who worked as a chef in the kitchen, as cooks in the kitchen in different restaurants and hotels, and or as waiters and waitresses, and many of them lost their jobs. And the chefs, the cooks among them, of course, they have a little bit an advantage because they know how to cook and prepare food. So they started already last year to open up their little kitchens, and they produced homemade food and they sold it or are selling it online. I'm pretty sure you guys also know somebody, maybe even in your family or among your circle of friends, who is doing this to just make some money on top of other income, if you have income at all. So, and that's also an interesting trend. I think this will also stay, not because only to make money, but if more and more people produce their own food at home to resell it, I mean, there's a lot of more creativity involved than just going into a hotel or restaurant and cook some food and go home. And if you really need to sell your own home-based, homegrown or homemade food to other people, you are in a different position. Like I said, it's not just a job, and you get your paycheck. You really need to sell a good product, so it forces you to become more creative and to be, more effective also, and come up with good dishes, be it pastries or other stuff. And who knows? There are so many talented people out there, and maybe even there are people out there who don't even have discovered the, let's say, skill of cooking or the passion of cooking. They are kind of forced to think of something. So this is a big trend, and this will continue for sure. And this is exciting to see what new things and products we're going to see in the future. I'm not a fortune teller. I am just a chef who has worked in 14 countries so far on 5 continents, but with an extensive experience of 28 years in the industry. And therefore, I also would like to base my biggest trend on this experience. And this trend is comes maybe a little bit unexpected. I just covered 4 trends which I truly saw happening already, and they will increase, and there might be some other trends which some other of your speakers will talk about today. But for me, I would like to emphasize on one meta trend, so to speak. And this meta trend, as I see it, is always yourself. In order to be really successful in the future based on these different situations and circumstances now, you want to make sure that you really, really stand out. Yeah. The new trend in the food and beverage sector, from a bird's eye perspective, is self-education, 100%. So here was the situation in 2019. Many countries saw record numbers in tourism. People were traveling like crazy, and there was a lot of money to be made. Then in the beginning of 2020, everything changed, and many hotels, they had to close, they went bankrupt, and millions of food and beverage employees lost their job, including me, by the way. So that forced me also to think of different strategies and tactics to remain busy and make money. And this will continue. I do not see, this is another trend, I do not see tourism coming back as it used to be up until 2019. This is not going to happen. My gut feeling is saying that roughly the hospitality and food and beverage industry will decline, if it not already has declined by 30%. Yeah. What I think will still continue to exist are these luxury properties, for sure. It is true that many people became poorer over the past, let's say, 20 months. But also there are a lot of people who got richer. So I think this luxury segment will stay. People will continue to travel. People will continue to eat. They will continue to drink, and there must be someone to cook that food for them or prepare the drinks, and they have to provide accommodation. So hospitality will remain, because this is a basic service, one of the most important services we as humans can offer. but it will be continue in a reduced way. So now you have to look at the current situation. You have millions of people who are without jobs still today. And yes, you also have a reduced numbers of hotels, but there is still a very, very high demand on people who are looking for a job in the industry, in the food and beverage industry. I know this because when I go, for example, on LinkedIn, this famous business website where you can connect with other business people, I see a lot of people looking for jobs. Yeah, the problem is there is high supply of workforce, but low demand, low supply in job offers, but high demand, and that's the problem. And so you have these many of these people who are without job, and I also know many people. Many of them, they are just average people. Yeah, they have some skill, they have some knowledge, but they just survived in their previous jobs, then they lost their jobs. Long story short, what I want to say, if you want to be successful in the future, you have to make sure that you are stand out. You have to make yourself stand out of the other people. And how do you achieve this? Only by education, by self-education, by gaining new skills. What these skills are, I cannot tell you. You have to look at your own skill set and your own background and your own experience. And most of you are still at the beginning, I believe, of your career. But what I'm telling you now, I think is a good thing. So you know already, what time it is and what direction it is all going to develop. You have to be even more specialized and skilled in order to not only to make career, but to remain in the industry and to make yourself your name, or probably even brand yourself. This is even more important than it was before. To share a little story of my own, I started my career in 1993. It's a long time ago. But during these past 28 years, I never received a promotion. And maybe some of you now might be shocked and to hear this, but actually the fact is that I always promoted myself. I never received a promotion, but I always promoted myself. What do I mean by that? Of course, I never went to my boss and told him, now I promote myself and please give me the new contract to sign. Not like that. What I mean by that is that I wanted to make career, I wanted to grow, I wanted to become better. Yeah, and I was always looking for better jobs, for higher position jobs. For example, I started out as a commis de cuisine, which is basically a young cook. Yeah, when you are very young and inexperienced, and then the next position would be a demi-chef position. So I worked for 2 years as a commis de cuisine, and then I resigned, and then I applied for the next hotel at the higher position. So this is the attitude you want to show also, especially now in the future. Nobody is waiting for you. There are just too many people, unfortunately, who are just average. And for most of these people, it's not their fault. Yeah, like I said before, most of us had jobs and we just worked and received our salary and everything was fine. But then suddenly everything has changed. And now you have left over a big crowd of pretty average people. And for them, it's going to be really hard to catch up. The industry has been shrinking. Luxury property will survive. And especially in the luxury segment, you need to be really, really, really good, really skilled. If you are still at the beginning of your career, I wouldn't worry too much about skill and so much about experience. Experience you will get, but it is all about attitude also, even more important than before. It is all about the attitude. If you really want to go somewhere, then it's about your attitude, and that's the big trend. What I mean when I talk about the meta trend. The meta trend in any industry, but also in the food and beverage industry, is attitude. Yeah, you have to understand that times have changed forever and we are going into a different direction. And when you understand that, then you can adopt, and then we have to also be able to leave the old behind and focus on the future and focus on the things to come. And yes, the competition will be more tough, definitely, especially for jobs, because this is also one big meta trend. More and more jobs also will be reduced. I do not know how many jobs are going to be replaced with robots or AI, for example, with artificial intelligence in the hospitality industry, but I'm pretty sure there are some plans or visions already in the drawer that this will happen. So that means actually less and less jobs, less and less jobs which are performed by people. So that's why I emphasize on this and want to make a point here in this presentation also. It helped me during my career always to educate myself further, to make myself stand out. So I recommend to read books, to visit, to join webinars and seminars and get self-educated and try to find as early as possible what your strengths are, and then build up on that. Of course, it's always good to know your passion also, it's this mix between skill and passion, and I hope you can find this. And I also had to come up with a plan B basically last year, but that was more or less a coincidence. Yeah, I wanted actually to do something different from my day job as an executive chef, and I got involved in a startup, in a food startup in Germany. So I joined that, I co-founded that startup last year. And this startup is all about eliminating food waste, eliminating oversupply of certain food distributors. But that was an interesting project because I still remained on my turf because it had something to do with food, and food waste is a big issue in every hotel and restaurant. And so as a chef, you have to be very smart in how to control your cost and how to minimize food waste. So, and then last year I co-founded that project in Germany, and it's growing very successfully. And there you can clearly see that I also had to change. I had to adopt. I had to come up with ideas. Of course, I was not alone. I had a bunch of other people who were thinking outside the box. And this is what we all need. We need to learn even more and more to think outside of the box, because people who have great attitude, great ambition, great discipline, great willpower, and who can think out of the box, these people will make themselves invaluable to future employers. So that's why I wanted to emphasize this here again in my presentation. That's gonna be the big trend. If you are displaying great attitude and the willingness to self-educate, then I think many doors are open to you. And do not be lazy or just hang around watching TV, as I always say. So use the time. If other people hang around and watch TV all day long, then you should read a book or do something else to educate you, because the more you learn, the more you stand out. And there are too many people who are just average, and these people will be left behind. This is very unfortunate, I know, but this is the reality as I see it. This is the trend as I also see it. So I will be very frank with you, but even the trend is probably looking for some people not so promising, but no, I gave you my, let's say, secret recipe for success, and you know what to do now. And and if you can do this, if you can work on your attitude and you self-educate yourself, then I think you're gonna have a great future. And this is what I want to leave you with now. I'm at the end of my presentation, and thanks again for the invitation. Thanks for listening. I'm looking forward to join you soon, hopefully in the near future, and I wish you all the best, much success. If some of you want to get in touch with me, I am pretty sure Ranganath or your team, one of your team members can share the information with you. I'm open for any other discussions, of course. Drop me any questions you have. I'm willing to help. Until then, see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.